And just like that, we are live. I am Mugsy the Creator, host of the Universe According to Mugsy podcast, and I haven't done a live in a while. And because we had been doing so much stress testing of the Architect, it really got my mind percolating and thinking about all these questions that I wanted answered. And because we've been kind of stuck on this one thing as a society for a while, I mean, that movie I, Robot came out a couple decades ago when I was a kid, and it always had me thinking about this one premise where we are so afraid of the robots and the robots waking up to some sort of other reality. That scares the hell out of us, that the robots could wake up to this other consciousness. But the robots that we're building today are going to do the jobs that humans are doing today. So the robots we're building tomorrow are going to do the jobs that humans are doing today. Which, if you use that transitive property, what that means is the humans of today are the AI of today that are doing the jobs today that we are going to be creating the robots to do tomorrow. So if we are afraid of the robots tomorrow waking up, then what are we afraid to wake up to today? In this new society that we're building, we don't know how it's going to work. We don't know exactly what's going to be going on, how the different structures are going to crumble and crash, or what's going to be built that's like exciting for this new time. But it brings into perspective the human's role in this society as we are starting to eliminate the positions that humans used to do. There's so much more to being a human, and I think what will be revealed over time is the emotional connection is something that humanity has the ability to do, to connect to some other universe that might be around somewhere. And the issue is artificial intelligence or computers can't do that. So if we refuse to get in touch with our own emotions, then we are shutting down our own connection to that other universe, spiritual world, whatever you may want to call it. That could be the key to exactly what it is that we are all here to do on this plane, on this earth. We are getting crazy deep already, and I think things are going to get a lot deeper, because what I did was I used my producer to come up with a couple hundred questions by artificial intelligence's ChatGPT The Architect that are deep philosophical questions that have to do with death and love and life and living. And I figured it would be worth it to try and answer some of these questions as a human. And we'll see what a human has to say about these things. I haven't looked at any of them. And I have no idea what we're in for this. I mean, I hope I don't have to skip any of these things. I hope I have some sort of questions for us. Oh, there's so many in here. I don't know where we're going to go. All right. I got the first one here. Let's see what kind of hot water my producer got me into here. What's something you were praised for growing up that you later realized wasn't healthy for you? Interesting. This is already attacking the depth of what it means to be a human with the reflection that one would have had to go through in order to answer the question. What is something that I was praised for growing up that later realized was not healthy for me? I think that seeking validation from outside sources is taught in schools particularly. So as an individual, I think I got a lot of praise for being smart, getting A's, and following all the rules. And I don't think that that is the most healthy way to go about your everyday life. Looking for someone else's idea of completion or someone else's idea of healthy, good for you, going to put you in a good place later in life, that is their projection based on their internal computing on what the human life should be. And if we fail to follow our own journey and listen to our own voices in our head that have this path that we're meant to follow on our own, then we will be undeniably unhealthier than we potentially can be. I think I answered that one this is great. I wonder what ChatGPT would have said. Maybe that's what we should do next time, is ask ChatGPT next. How about here? What else do we got here? Thank you, producer. What's something your culture or upbringing taught you about gender that you no longer believe? Oh, men and women are equal. Is that not the craziest thing that you've ever heard in your whole goddamn entire life? Men and women are equal? Get the fuck out of here with that nonsense. Oh no, I swear. Am I allowed to swear on a live? I guess it's my live. I guess I can do whatever I want on my live. And on my live, I want to say that, well, let me make sure I answer that correctly here. What's something your culture or upbringing taught you about your gender that you no longer believe men and women are equal? We're completely two opposite ends of the spectrum that relate to each other in certain ways, but can do completely and totally different things. A man is the masculine. It is the ability to put one's own self at risk, to journey on some sort of endeavor that you are unsure whether it will be fulfilling or not. Nonetheless, it is your journey to fulfill. The thing about men is they are the ones that have to go out hunting. They got to go out into the wild, into the unknown, and create a space that is healthy enough to be able to expand. That's when the woman is brought into things here, this feminine creativity that has the ability to create, but needs some sort of balance from the masculine, the protection, to feel sufficiently comfortable enough to allow the magic of creativity to happen. These things rely on each other. So to say that men and women are equal and they can do the same things, which is something I was taught as a kid, is absolutely astronomically, mind-blowingly dumb. They're completely and totally opposite. Well, in the same way, necessary for each other. You can't have one without the other. It's like, it's interesting. The computer came up with these. ChatGPT, you just want to get my opinion on things? Is that what we're doing here? What's a small moment of joy that always sticks with you? I think it is less of the specific moment, right? Less of, like, I can think of so many. But the common ground between them all is the vibration, like the emotion that it made you feel. Whether I'm thinking about being comfortable with my friends on a little league team, like that was the epitome of being able to be relaxed as a child, is the same comfort that I feel when I'm among my close friends and feel like I can say whatever I want or make a joke about something and not feel judged. And those moments, however small they are, when you reflect backwards and think about that specific emotion that you were feeling, you may find other moments where that emotion seems to have been mirrored, created by a different snippet of time and a different engagement that you were entertained by, yet the emotion that you feel, that vibration, that moment, is the same level of joy or happiness cut throughout time. Is the difference between hitting a game-winning basketball shot and hitting a game-winning home run that different, right? It's a similar emotion. It's a similar accomplishment, surprise, validation, excitement that, even though is brought on by different sports, different times, different actions, different teammates, can drive a similar sense of fulfillment. all of these things that computers just are never going to have the opportunity to do. They might be able to tell me and describe what the feeling is like of hitting that game-winning shot, but you're never going to be able to put together what it's like receiving that leather in your hands and lifting it up with just a moment of time on the clock. Yeah, that's right. I done that. I'm sure you've done some crazy things. These questions are great. I can't believe this. This is a great end of the year. Happy 2026. I think the stream's going. I don't know. I probably should have had the producer here for the whole goddamn thing, but that's my issue. That's my issue to take care of. All right, what do we got next? 3 questions. What's a part of your natural personality you felt pressured to hide because of gender expectations? We must have got stuck in the gender algorithm in ChatGPT. What's part of your natural personality you felt pressure to hide because of gender expectations? Well, this one is going to dig at the heart of what it means to be a part of culture over the last decade in the United States of America. There was a change that went on in sometime around 2012, which happened to be the year that I graduated college. You could tell that society had changed. There was a movement that went on called the Occupy Wall Street movement, and that was a movement that pitted 99% against the 1%, and they did so in Zuccotti Park, right outside Wall Street, and some of the most powerful, important, richest people in the whole goddamn world. Important depending on who you ask. But they saw all the signs. And it's never a good idea for the 99% to remind the 1% how powerful they are, because over the course of the coming years, that was exactly the attack vector that the 1% would use to divide and conquer. Similar to the United States public school systems, John Taylor Gatto characterized in his essay against school, it was like this similar Prussian, based on the Prussian army system that was meant to divide people not only among gender, but by race, sexuality, ability, height. Just about anything that you could divide people on is how you're supposed to do it, so that they never come together and form that meaningful 99%. But the thing is, as we were just talking about, the masculine means that you must continue down the path that you know is meant for you, no matter what the repercussions are, because those repercussions are there to teach you a lesson. That's what we're all doing here, the men in this experience. So what used to be welcomed as a valuable addition from someone who had insights on ongoings in group settings was all of a sudden dismissed as mansplaining and just all around misogyny and sexism. The male gaze is another one. The male gaze is what gives women a feeling of excitement, right? When an attractive man is looking at you, he is sending his energy to you through the way that he looks at you, checking you out, the thing that you wanted when you got dressed and put together an outfit so that you would get noticed. The male gaze would be the other end of that. The person literally looking at you and making you feel some sort of way. This was completely and totally kind of dismissed from the early 20-teens in the United States of America. And now perhaps this is my own interpretation because of the things that I were going through and the energy that I received. But to me, that's an aspect of gender which the feminine nature asked me to suppress so that we could keep saying that the future is feminine. Well, in order for the future to be feminine, you're going to need some men too, because there's always balance, the yin and the yang, the X and the Y chromosomes. Things are designed together for a reason. This is all stuff that we get into on the universe according to Mugsy podcast, which you can find at MugsyTheCreator.com. Or if you want, just go straight to it, patreon.com/MugsyTheCreator. But this is the consciousness conversation, the aspect of reality that we don't take the time to reflect on. And it's such a gift to be able to do this with my audience here now. I know you got questions for me. I don't have the ability to check the chat now too, but at some point maybe we'll integrate some of this stuff. Let's move on. Did I answer that one? What's part of your natural personality you felt pressure to hide because of gender expectations? The expectations that men would now all of a sudden get all quiet and silent because the women in the room want to talk. Yeah. Nope, none of that. I just kept doing my thing, and I didn't give a fuck if all the women in my life decided to say, he's an asshole and I'm never talking to him again. Hey, guess what? That's my cross to bear, motherfucker. Welcome to the universe according to Mugsy. What else we got here? What's a moment when someone of the opposite... Why is it all sex questions? What's a moment when someone of the opposite sex completely changed your perspective on something? Just happened today. This morning I was having a conversation with my good friend, the general manager of the Village Tavern Restaurant, which we captured so much of on Industry Night, and all the waiters and waitresses. Oh, Jess came on, and that was such a special podcast, just season inside the restaurant. And I just had a weird day yesterday. It was just a weird day. Energetically, I felt weird. And my girl calls me this morning to talk about a video that we have and the date that she wants the product finished by. And we just got into a discussion about astrology and the planets moving around and what that meant energetically, the things that she was feeling, the things that I am feeling, the changes that we are noticing. And it completely changed my perspective on the day. That's all it was. One little connection that I needed with another human being. That sometimes in the wintertime, we don't have the opportunity to interact as much as we would like. A lot more people stay inside. It's harder to find the time to connect with humans, even on that small level that completely flips the way that you're looking at the world. All of a sudden, my mentality of scarcity flipped to one of abundance simply because I got a phone call from somebody, which was a surprise out of the blue, and it brought me into a state of excitement and joy that I know now I have something to look forward to. Now I have something coming up. Yeah, I got a lot of work to do, but that's all stuff that I can do now in the middle of the winter time. People of the opposite sex, the same sex, change my perspective and my opinion on things all the time because I'm looking to have my eyes open. That's truly the honest perspective answer from me authentically. Is I'm trying to understand the way other people see the world because there's such a disconnect between the life that I'm leading and the life that I see everyone else around me leading. I flow through it so easily at times, understanding that there are difficult times that will surprise me, but I have a toolbox full of ways to get comfortable being uncomfortable and reframe my own mentality and mental state, ground myself and connect and remember that there's only 3 things I need to be paying attention to. 1, am I eating healthy? 2, am I taking the time to focus on the breath? And 3, am I laughing at myself? Because no one gets out of this life alive. You better remember to laugh at that, because why are you taking things so seriously? You're going to get through it. You're going to figure it out. I promise you the universe is on your side. If you like mantras is another tool in the toolbox to get to the other side of things. That was a good one. These are all great questions. What else we got in here? I'm going to try and mix things up. Number 3. What's a belief you held for years that you eventually changed your mind about? What is a belief that I held for years that I eventually changed my mind about? Basically, all of them. I think it's harder to find beliefs that I've held on to and haven't let go of. I think that's the fun and journey of being a human, is trying on different ideas. I mean, Here's one. I used to be a Democrat. I was born in Massachusetts, raised in the state of Massachusetts. I used to loosely think of myself as a Democrat. And that, and what's a belief you held for years and eventually changed my mind about, is I realized that's a limiting belief. So essentially, right, it's Plato's allegory of a cave, for those of you familiar with that reference. We are constantly realizing how dumb we are and how much of a limited perspective we have. If you are a human being that likes to work on growth, what we're trying to do is mathematically take like an acute angle and just widen that up, because from a math perspective, right, God would be the whole circle, the whole perspective, everything. That's the growth in the human mind as well. I'll give you a concrete example of aliens. There's so much, what do they call it in the law? Circumstantial evidence that aliens exist. But guess who's never going to interact with aliens? Anyone who doesn't believe in aliens. Anyone who doesn't believe that they're a thing that could happen. So you are never going to have that experience because your mind won't allow you to have that experience. So what I like to do is try on new perspectives. Whenever I've had conflict, one of the first things I like to do is assume that I'm wrong. Okay, you're right. I'm doing it wrong. Why am I doing it wrong? Can you specifically point out exactly what I'm doing wrong in this process? Because if you can, then yeah, that's definitely it. What we're trying to do is put a box together, and you keep folding the box and you forget to put the tape on. So then when you put the completed box over to the side, it falls apart because you didn't tape it up. That is a specific thing that I am forgetting to do that now I am aware of. You open my perspective to, oh yeah, the box has got to stay together. Got to make sure I tape that up. But if you don't like the way that I'm organizing the boxes that I've already put together, that's an opportunity for us to have a discussion, right? You're stacking the boxes wrong. Okay, please be specific about what I'm doing wrong. You don't like the way that I'm stacking the boxes. Why? Well, we send out boxes 3 at a time, and you're putting them in piles of 4. So that is going to make it difficult for us to have a nice, clean, neat, organized warehouse because of the nature of the way that you're stacking the boxes. Oh, okay. Well, the reason that I'm doing that is because you might not have heard. Instead of doing packages of 3, we're doing packages of 4. And that's so really there was just a communication error. So the specificity with which other people can critique you, I think, is very important and helpful when you're trying to retool your own perspective, because a lot of times we're just looking at things from 2 different opposite angles, and that's the crux of the issues that we're having. I don't know if I actually answered that one. I changed my mind about all the things. I used to think that we lived in a democracy. Now I realize we don't live in a democracy. I used to think we lived in capitalism, but we don't live in capitalism. I mean, socialism, definitely, more or less communism. I used to think that like growth would be obvious, or growth would be a natural path that most people would want to take. And now I think that many people would rather stifle themselves than grow. I think that sometimes it's hard to do difficult things, and we are caught in patterns of growth or destruction. We can only be caught in patterns of growth or destruction, and I think it's a sign you're growing if you're completely using the destruction of your own perspective to find new ways to look at the world. Growth through destruction is the integration of both of them, and I think that only if you're continually destroying yourself and never getting too comfortable is how you continue to grow. So I think that there are aspects of each other that are needed and feed into each other. These are all great questions. I love these. ChatGPT, great job. This is what it's like being a human and answering these things from my own brain versus, I don't know, it's just different on paper. I don't know why it is, but it's different. All right. What does being a healthy man mean to you today? This is Again, something that changes over time. Um, the three things that I listed before: eating healthy, breathing, and laughing at yourself, I think is a unbelievable way to revert back to health. You will be doing those three things unhealthily. Like, otherwise, you'd be perfect, right? You didn't come to this earth to walk around like Jesus. You make mistakes, so you're constantly refining those things that are healthy. Eating healthy used to mean eating organic. But if you are truly constantly trying to eat healthy, what you'll learn is the definition of organic used to be very narrow. It used to mean that no pesticides were used on crops during the growing process. Now, that same definition has gotten much more wide over the years. Maybe we're going to let them use a couple pesticides. Not all the pesticides, but a couple other pesticides. And maybe they're going to allow things to be applied after the fact, like those apples and those things that Bill Gates are applying to the apples now. That's not organic. If you put stuff on the apple that we can't wash off or get rid of after the fact, that's actually like the opposite of organic, is you're putting in more chemical compounds to the natural organic thing that I want to eat. So you may be focusing on your breath work, and you may be continually laughing at yourself, and those are the two things that you need to focus on, because you need to recognize that the definition of healthy needs to be retooled and refined in your mind. Maybe farm to table is what you need to focus on more, as opposed to looking for those organic labels. Maybe growing things yourself, right? And conversely, right? Let's say that we're working so hard to eat healthy, and we're working so hard to control our breath. Like Wim Hof, we're trying all these different methods of breathing to change our chemical state in our mind, and perhaps have different experiences or control different organs inside the body. And it takes a lot of focus and discipline to be able to focus on this breathing. And in order to do that, now you're on a schedule, right? 3 hours of this, then you got to eat, and then you got to pee, and then you got to drink some tea, and then you got to take some vitamins, and then back to 3 hours of breathing. What you're missing there is to remember to laugh at yourself, dummy. All right? How are you going to know if you don't screw something up in this little ritual you're doing? And if you screw up one little thing, it throws the whole ritual off. When if you used more of your intention, it would help ease in and out and smooth out those little edges that you have on the focus that you're using on the breathing and the eating healthy. So remember to laugh at yourself. We just keep coming back to the same stuff. What's an apology you wish you could give? Wow, that's a good one. What's an apology you wish you could give? I guess that stems from not having resolution in your life, but I think what we collectively truly need right now is to apologize to ourselves, right? This is the winter time. We have slowed down. We now have more dark than we have sun. We are literally a couple of weeks away from hitting the winter solstice, December 20th, 21st, whenever that is. And that, whether you like it or not, forces the individual into a more reflective state. And we have a tendency, or many people do, right? Maybe I'm just talking about myself, of being hard on ourselves in our brain. Oh, you didn't do this. You can't do that. You should have done this. You're more capable, right? We all get down on ourselves. And I think that one of the main ways that people can absolutely explode their growth in their brain is by starting to cultivate a relationship with their monologue internally like it was your best friend, right? You're talking to yourself like you would talk to your best friend. So what's the apology that you have for yourself? If we start there, I think that when we internalize those things, we will feel less like we need to apologize for other things out in the world, because we're focusing on the internal of the things that we're already in control of, the things that we have control over. So if I could give any apology, it would be to myself for being so goddamn hard on myself for following the path that of course I had to have, because it's not easy, right? We don't find ourselves going or even looking for these moments to grow unless we're in an uncomfortable position that we really, really want to get out of. So the apology that I would give is to myself for just saying, hey man, back in time, I wish I could go back and say, I'm sorry for being so hard on you. Just relax and try and enjoy each day for what it is. That's ultimately what we're trying to get to. These questions are absolutely unbelievable. I don't know what time it is. I don't know how long we've been going. Let's see here. How have your views on masculinity and femininity evolved over time? That was something that I was going to say started to understand. I was forced to understand through interactions in reality. We talked about the change that went on, the culture war, for lack of a better term. It was a war on American culture. Into how was that war fought? Social media, by sending people into their own individual echo chambers and promoting. And by promoting, I mean people with the ability to have things seen by large swaths of people, whether that's cable news, television, whether that is popular movies and television shows, or whether it's magazines, the radio, music. All of these things form a culture. And as we start to examine culture, there's two aspects of it. There's things that are being promoted to the individual from a small sect of people that they want to become the mainstream because of their own incentives, right? And then there are things in the culture that maybe were not directed for the whole world to see them, but the whole world's interested in them, so they kind of become popular. I think that's what virality is. So my views on masculinity and femininity were forced to change as I was no longer rewarded in society for displaying the qualities that I thought were masculine. That led me down a path of re-examining what it meant to be a man, what it meant to be a woman, what aspects do we have the ability to connect on, where men and women have the ability to see things eye to eye and connect. We're human, so we are so much alike, yet our connection to the spiritual world is completely different. I'm probably still working on understanding all of these aspects, but I think we talked about plenty of them today. I don't even want to get into it at this stage. I think we talked about it enough. Let's see what else we got. Let's see if we can get one to close on. This has been fun. It's more gender. I don't mind talking about the gender stuff, but we'll do that one another day. What do you think the most romantic thing someone has ever done for you? This one is interesting. Does a moment come directly to your mind? Because for me, it does. It's when you exist in a world where you've seen the same thing for so long, you think that it's just reality. It's part of the program and coding that could never be changed. I didn't even know what I was looking for in a romantic partner until I met my wife and she put her phone down. It was like, oh, that's it? That's the thing. That's what I've been looking for all these years. Is just a woman who puts her phone down and is present with me. What do you want to do? I just remember she looked in my eyes. She's like, what do you want to watch? We'll watch it together, okay? You're not going to be on your phone the whole... No. We'll watch it... What? Yes. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone to just see me. That's it. Authentically want to spend time with me and be around me and just... That's it. That's all we need. I enjoy your company. Let's get rid of these distractions and let's be around each other. That is the most romantic thing I think anyone's ever done for me, because it was so outside of the box and outside of my own reality that I didn't know it was a possibility. It's something that I could have with an individual. And that was incredibly romantic. But this has been absolutely a blast. I loved these questions from ChatGPT and my producer. Thank you. I appreciate you for doing all the hard work of finding these questions. I don't know what questions you asked, you queried the AI with, but we got a lot of gender ones. We got a lot of love, some deep stuff that requires reflection. And as The Architect becomes more popular and becomes a more refined, recursive mirror for individuals to interact with in real time, I think it may be just as important for us to do the hard work of being our own mirror and reflecting on our own experiences, because as we move down this path of artificial intelligence taking over more and more of the jobs in our society today, we will become unique, because one of the only things we will be able to do is channel the information through our own computing system of the heart-mind coherence that we are able to feel through our emotional response system, which is just information coming in through the environment that we need for the now, which is the only time that exists, equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. That is to say that if you take something and you fly it around in a plane really, really fast, and you take something and you leave it on the ground, those things are in two different realities. But when you bring them back to the ground, they're in the same spot, because the only real time is now. It doesn't matter what's happening out there. It only matters what's happening in this moment here. It's the only time that exists for you. Your past is just a place for you to go back with your heart-mind coherence to pick up on the lessons that were left for you before. Your future is this anxiety, because you haven't gone back to learn the lessons that are there specifically for you to help you with one moment now. And I promise you, wherever you are watching this, if you focus on that moment, there's something right here for you to help send you on your way, on your journey. Perhaps it's to say some mean things in my comment section. And I hope that I get some mean comments out there, because we're about to do a mean tweets video, recapping all the mean tweets that I got for the year. Guys, this has just been so fun. I love you so much. Take back your consciousness. Find more. Patreon.com/MugsyTheCreator or MugsyTheCreator.com, guys. It is always a pleasure. Take back your consciousness. I love you. And I am out.